Welcome, comic book fans. Yes, it's Comic Boss 1. Welcome, welcome. And tonight I'm going to show you one of my most favourite comic book characters, which is, of course, Batman. Now then, for logistical and physical reasons, I can't show you the actual Batman title tonight. But I couldn't anyway, because the run that I've got is a very long run, and I cannot. I can't physically get to it anyway. So my Batman stuff I was going to have to break up into a few different sections, and I think I'll intersperse it with other stuff because it's quite a lot to get through otherwise, especially if you're not into Batman, which some people won't be. We all like different things, but I am into it. I love the character, and it's one of the central titles, as is Detective Comics specifically, that really got me into the, really kind of established the hobby in my mind, and very early on, the first couple of books, I said in one of my earlier videos, I started going to a specialty shop which was miles away, literally miles and miles and miles away, where I live firmly inland. I live in a village. This place was by a seaside resort, so it was quite a challenge to get to. Anyway, without further ado, I will show you, I'll show you that book, and I'll show you some others within the collection. There's a specific run, though, that I want to kind of introduce you to. Some of you will be probably very familiar with it, some of you won't. But it is well worth, I promise you, it is well worth you looking at this. From the reading perspective, definitely from the reading perspective, for those of you who read your books, and I'm sure an awful lot of you do. Okay, so this is issue 0, it was from the 0 hour thing. I think one of the earliest in the run that I've got is from 500. I very much like more modern Batman. I got into Batman from the 1980s. Obviously, I'd seen it on the show, the Adam West Batman. I loved that. I also remember this, what was it, Superpowers figure collection, loved that as well. And I read the comics. So I saw a lot of Batman in Justice League, and then his Untitled in the reprints over here. And what the reprints were actually, the UK reprints were reprinting, was this from this kind of era, and a little bit later. Okay, so these two books here, this one in particular was one of the first kind of proper US comics, again, that I bought as a teen, if you will, when I was collecting in my early teens, and paid enough for it at the time out of my pocket money, very much enough, and but I love it. I love that cover. I think it's an awesome cover. I think the concept is awesome, and I just love it. Great cover. I love the Joker's style, though, how the Joker's drawn as well in those days. Very much love that. Okay, so the next one, here we go. I'll race through these, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's because I want to get to... I must have liked that one, or I forgot that I had it. Does that happen with you guys, by the way? Okay, there we go. So I'm racing through these, and I'll tell you why I'm racing through them. There is a reason. I think the McFarlane one, let me think now. McFarlane's first one, this is McFarlane as well. There you go. For those who didn't know that he did Batman stuff, there you go. Batman stuff. He did, and I've got his first one, and I think it must have been in the actual Batman title itself. I remember the cover, but I always get confused with Batman and so on. Batman and the Detective. Now you'll see a little name in the corner there, Breyfogle. Okay, that's how I pronounce it anyway. And that's quite an important name to me because he was kind of the artist that I grew up with, if you will. Okay, so the next batch are going to be taken right here, and it's this run really that I want to concentrate on. So that first one was 582. Okay, now then, if you're not familiar with this run, I honestly get it. Okay, if you like Batman and you've never read this run, you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, trust me, get it. Okay, buy it up. All right, because the writing to me personally, obviously, we all have different kind of interests in Batman. Some like him as a detective, some like him as a fighter, as a street justice merchant. Some like him because of his gadgets, whatever. But get it, okay? And it starts here, and you'll see that it's kind of written and plotted. I think they shared it by Wagner, but not too sure with that one. Grant, Breyfogle, and Mitchell. And then Grant, I think, takes over later on solely. I think, if memory serves, I think Wagner had given him his break, brought him over onto the title when he'd been asked, and then left him to it, cleared off, I think. So yeah, and they used to do some work, I think, together over here. I think on 2000 AD, some of the British publications anyway. But this run, I will say now, it was an awesome run in terms of the writing. It was sharp, and you owe it to yourselves. Get reading it. This one, I like this. I think if I remember, something like the title, something like An American Batman in London. It's so sharp. I live nowhere near London. London's like it's kind of like. Say if I live in New York, I mean, geographically, which I don't. I guess I would live in Seattle, in England, and London would be Florida, if you think of it in those terms. If you're not familiar. There you go. But these were just cracking stories, and you can see they're interesting little plot devices that they're using. That's 593, isn't it? Quite an interesting one, that. And 594. There we go. But they were just awesome, and this is the tie-in. Obviously, they did a tie-in from time to time, and there was a free 16-page second feature, of course there was, because they were trying to sell another book. But again, from a time, really, when comic books were king, they were absolutely rocking it. Doing really, really well at that time. Which, of course, sadly, now at the moment, each to their own, but I don't think that they necessarily are. There are a lot of good exceptions, but unfortunately, there's a lot that aren't. And sales-wise as well, same thing. Okay, so that was 600. Now then, this one is, not that one, that one, 601. This was kind of what really kick-started it and what really got me turned on to Batman. And let's face it, who wouldn't do that for that cover? I did the same thing with my son as well. He likes cars, he's like his dad, he likes cars, and you've got a Ferrari racing the Batmobile. It's a question mark in the kid's head. Straight away, they want to know what the result is, don't they? They want to know who wins. Buy your kids that. Seriously. If they're struggling to buy it, give it them. Buy it as a reading copy only. This one, it is. I mean, look at it. It's hammered. I've had this, and I'll never replace it. That's my reading copy from when I was an early teen. Okay, about, I think, late 13, possibly 14, but it was just such a great book, that. And I think it was a 3-parter, something like the Tibet. What was it? The Tibet? I can't remember. Oh, it was Troika, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, there we go. And it was a great story. Okay, so 603, and then we have the Mud Pack. Again, that was another one that I got early on. This was the Mud Pack again, and Batman's being haunted by the ghost there. I think, is it of Jason Todd, probably, yeah. And then there's another one. There we go. Quite a lengthy story. And Anarchy, and I think, if memory serves, this is the first appearance of Anarchy as well. Really good book, really interesting character at that time, back in that day. Things sometimes change, don't they? I'm not too sure right now, but there you go. I love that character as well back then. Penguin story, again, great story. Interesting covers, just really interesting covers. And that's what I love about them. These might not be, a lot of them might not be worth very much. Some will be, but a lot won't be worth very much at all. But that's not the point with these. The point with these is it's a story that, again, I really strongly recommend you try and get hold of in the back issues, because the writing it's just sharp. It is really sharp. And in Detective Comics, in particular, there's a real kind of emphasis on detection. And it's just fantastic. And what they did was they migrated, if memory serves, and I think they went from Detective Comics to the main Batman title after this. So at a point, and I don't know if have we reached that point. We might have done. I can't remember. But at a point, they switched over to the main Batman title, that creative team, and then once they did Batman, and remember this was like about 89 to the early 90s. So like the two big Batman films were out, you know, Batman the movie and Batman Returns, and it was massive business. And for a lot of people, you know, this was the first time they tapped into this particular comic. It was so successful, it was reprinted, like saying the British UK format reprints, which I've shown you before in my Origin of Comic Boss 1 video, so feel free to look at that one. But again, just a really formative kind of aspect of my comic book reading, and what I expected from comic books. I'm conscious of the fact that I have taken my time. It's because they bring back so many memories, so I don't particularly like flipping through these very much. So, and here we go, Wolfman, Aparo and DiCarlo. There you go, interesting cover, that one. Very interesting. Focus. I'm just going to blitz through these because I think it starts getting patchy from here. Hang on, there you go. Sorry, I'll fall back a bit. There you go. Is that Spoiler? I think that's first appearance of Spoiler. Anyway, 664, so you get the Nightfall storyline. There's another one, interesting one coming up from a emotional perspective. Here we go. I love that cover. That is a good cover. Well, it depends what you're into, doesn't it? But I like it. There you go. And I'm going to have to be quick now with the video with the length of time that I've got. That's a foil, if you can see that. There you go. And that's issue 675. And then that's a jump. Nope, we've got a few. Oh no, yeah, that is it, I'm afraid. So there we go. And then we've got another one. Interesting cover. The penciler there had a pretty. They were on a bit of a racket there, weren't they, really, with that one, if they were paid for that. There you go, the colorist earned their money. That's a fold-up one. I've got the other version as well somewhere, or an open version. I love that cover. That's a good cover as well. And then we've got some more, and more. But that's the main run, though, that I wanted to do. It was the Grant Breyfogle run. Which I loved, and I'll show you the Batman equivalent. Oh, and after they did Batman, they launched their own, not their own, but you know what I mean, another Batman title, which was, I think, the third one, which had not been done. You know, they haven't launched a new Batman title at that point. Now they do it every 5 seconds, and I think that was, let me think, was that Shadow of the Bat? I'll have to remember. If you can remember, if I'm wrong, then please put it in the comments boxes. But I'll find it and I'll show you. Again, they only worked on that book for a few issues, funnily enough. I'll leave the other ones where they are, actually, because this video is going to overrun otherwise. But I just wanted to show you, again, something that was formative to me. Just a quick heads up as well, in the next few videos I'll be kind of doing some things that we've done before. I'm going to do some more under the covers. I've added on Good Advice by Alex and Reaper. You know, that's what I should be doing. I should do some more of those as well under the covers, and I've got some really big books to do that with, and interesting books as well to do that with. But also I'm going to do some other interesting stuff and give you a bit more insight into, you know, me personally. Don't worry, guys, it's nothing sordid. And some new ideas as well, which I've been thinking about and I'm very keen to do with you. Okay, so thanks very much, guys, and remember, keep collecting.